everybody. I am Triveni Sureshbabu, the senior trainer of Skillzenith Consulting. Today let us discuss about the third part of the history lesson number 3, Karnataka State Board, class 10th Social Science, that is Constitutional Development or the Indian Governments Act. In the previous video, in the last class, we learned about or we studied about Regulating Act of 1773, Pitt's India Act of 1784, Charter Acts, that is Charter Act of 1839, Charter Act of 1833. In this video, today we shall learn about the British Government Acts, that is from 1858 to 1947. Indian Government Act of 1858, Indian Councils Act of 1861, Indian Councils Act of 1892, Indian Councils Act of 1909, Government of India Act of 1919 and Government of India Act of 1935. Now let us learn about the British Government Acts 1858 to 1947. The Sepoy Mutiny took place due to maladministration of the East India Company and anti-Indian acts in 1857. You know, it is a very renowned or very famous incident in the history of India. The Sepoy Mutiny, or it is also called as First War of Indian Independence. The first step taken by the Indian rulers or common people to turn against the rule of the British. The Sepoy Mutiny, why it took place? Because there was maladministration. Maladministration means bad administration. The administration of the British was not in favor of the Indians. So, maladministration of the East India Company led to Sepoy Mutiny. And all the acts which were passed were against the Indians. Anti-Indian acts means against the Indians. As a result, the administration of India was handed over to the British Queen from the East India Company. When Britain government realized the fact that Indians are not tolerating the British rule or the maladministration of the East India Company, the administration of India was taken over by the British Queen. During this period, India Government Acts were passed in 1858, 1861, 1892, 1909, 1919 and 1935. They were implemented, brought into force. Due to various political developments during different periods, makes these acts historically very important. That means there was a direct link or relationship between the acts passed and the political changes that were taking place in the Indian soil. Now let us learn the provisions of the Indian Government Act of 1858. This act needs to be understood in the backdrop of civil and military unrest that took place in 1857. Backdrop means curtain at the tere mare anta in Kannadadalli heltare, curtain at the back of the stage anta. Backdrop andre. This act needs to be understood in the backdrop of civil and military unrest. And there was a civil and military unrest that took place in 1857. There were revolts all over India in the matter of civil and military matters. So India came under the direct rule of British government. Now East India Company could not rule because people revolted against the rule, maladministration. So the Indian administration went into the hands of the British government directly. The Queen of England, Queen Victoria, you can have a glance at her picture. She was the Queen of England during the year 1858 when the act was passed. She announced that all-round development of India would be ensured by the British government on November 1, 1858. That means when the mutiny took place, to some extent, it created fear in the British government or in Britain. So, Queen was worried or the Britain government worried that the Indians may revolt against the British rule. So, she announced that all-round development of India will be ensured, given guarantee by the British government on November 1st, 1858. Now the Queen of England will appear on the stage of political situation in India. The following are the important features of this act. The license of East India Company was cancelled by the Britain government and India was brought under the direct administration of the Queen. This I have already told. Now the Queen Victoria took the administration of India directly to her hand. The post of Governor General was changed into Viceroy. So Governor General came to be called as Viceroy Lord Canning became the first Viceroy of India. So the post of Governor General was changed and the Governor General came to be called as Viceroy, Lord Canning. So you can underline this name of the Viceroy, first Viceroy of India. He became the first Viceroy. A new post called Secretary of State for India was created in the British government. So British government appointed a post or a person who became the Secretary of State for India in order to look into the administration of the India. The secretary was part of the British cabinet and was responsible for the administration of India. Why he was part of the cabinet? Such a person was selected to become the secretary because he had knowledge about the political affairs. That is why a person from the cabinet, that is Britain cabinet, was selected as the Secretary of State for India. A Council of India was created in order to assist the secretary in the administration. So Governor General, he alone could not look after the administration because India was a vast country. So a council was created to assist the person or the Secretary of State. The council had 15 members. The Council of India was created to assist the Secretary of State. There were 15 members. Now let us learn about the provisions of Indian Councils Act of 1861. This is an important act that came into effect after the 1857. With this act, Indians were allowed to participate in the process of creating laws. Why this act is considered important means Indians were given the chance to participate in the process of creating laws. That means they were given the chance or posts in the judiciary. In order to understand the aspirations or desires of the Indians, representation was given to Indians. So now the Britain government came to know very well that unless we give some chance for the Indians or if we do not satisfy the Indians, definitely they will rebel or they will revolt against the Britain government. In order to satisfy the Indians, they were given chance in the judiciary and also there were some representations were given for the Indians. This is called as policy of assertion. Assertion, confirming policy. ಅಂದರೆ ದೃಢವಾಗಿ ಕೊಡುವಂಥದ್ದು. The policy which made guarantee for the representation of the Indians. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಪಾಲಿಸಿನ policy of assertion ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. If it is asked in the examination, why the 1861 Act was called as a policy of assertion ಅಂದ್ರೆ because in order to understand the aspirations of Indians, representation was given to Indians. It was guaranteed. That is why it is called as a policy of assertion. The following are the important features of this act. Indians were nominated to the Council of Viceroy. So no Indians were allowed to take part in the council. Now Indians were nominated. They were selected in the Council of Viceroy. Council of Viceroy, a member of 15 members, we have already told you, as non-official members. Anyhow, Indians were nominated, but they were considered as non-official members. Anyhow, some delegates were there, some representatives were there from the India. Viceroy was authorized to proclaim ordinances in case of emergency. Now, Viceroy was given the chance. Authorized means given the power to proclaim, to declare the ordinances in case of emergency. Ordinances ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? laws which for necessary authoritative direction ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, laws ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಏನಾದರೂ ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸಿ ಆದಾಗ he could not wait for the Britain government to pass the policy. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಬ್ರಿಟನ್ ತುಂಬಾ ದೂರ ಆಯಿತು ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಿಂದ. So in case of some emergencies, Viceroy was vested with the power of passing some ordinances or the laws. Now let us learn about the Indian Councils Act of 1892. This act is the continuation of Indian Council Act of 1861. Why it is called continuation? Because some of the features continue. Some of the whatever provisions were there, they were continued in this act. This act of 1892 further extended the participation of Indians in the legislative bodies. Even the Indians were allowed to take part in the administration and legislative bodies also. So judiciary, legislature and all Indians were allowed to participate. that was representation was there by the Indians. The critical view expressed by the Congress organization towards the British administration led to this expansion of Indian representation in the governance. See, Congress organization was formed. So the Indians, some of the Indians came forward to form an organization. We'll study in later on chapters in detail about the formation of the Congress and all. So now the critical view means ತುಂಬಾ ಕ್ಲಿಷ್ಟಕರವಾದದ್ದು. ಕ್ರಿಟಿಕಲ್ ವ್ಯೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಷ್ಠುರವಾಗಿ ಏನಿದೆ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದನ್ನು ಇದ್ದಂಗೆ ಹೇಳೋದು. ಸೊ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ಡ್ ದ ವ್ಯೂ ಟುವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ದ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್. ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ವರ್ ದೇರ್, ಇಟ್ ಬಿಗ್ಯಾನ್ ಟು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್. This led to the expansion of Indian representation in the governance. Governance means administration or the rule. So Congress began to criticize the British administration, fearing what it did, the British government expanded the Indian representation. More and more people were included in the administration. The following are the important features of this act. The number of additional members in the regional and central legislative bodies was increased. Always there will be central and state. Now we call it as state government and central government, or central bodies and the state agencies. Now some more members were added in the regional and central legislative bodies. The legislative council's authority was increased. I told you there was a council of members. Its authority means power increased further by allowing discussion on budget related to issues. That is the next step. The legislative council's power enhanced or increased. Why? Means the council was allowed to discuss about the budget related issues, the problems about the budget. Budget, the matter relating to income and expenditure. Provision was made to question the government on public issues by serving 6 days notice in advance. The legislative council could question the government, Britain government, who was looking after the administration, on public issues, means matters relating to people, by serving 6 days notice in advance. ಹೇಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದಾಗಿತ್ತು? ಹೌ ಟು ಕ್ವಶನ್, ಏನು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತಿದೆಯೋ ಅದನ್ನ 6 days ಮುಂಚೆ ನೋಟಿಸ್ನ ಬ್ರಿಟನ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗೆ ಅಥವಾ ಹೈಯರ್ ಅಥಾರಿಟಿಗೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಯಿತು. ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ವೇ ದ ಪವರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಲೆಜಿಸ್ಲೇಟಿವ್ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ಡ್. ಇಟ್ ಬಿಗ್ಯಾನ್ ಟು deal with the problems of the public also. Now let us learn about the Indian Councils Act of 1909. This act is also called as Minto-Morley Reforms Act. Morley anta heltare, Morley anta heltare. So during the formulation and implementation of this act, Lord Minto was the Viceroy of India. Lord Morley was the Secretary of State for India. See, you have learned already about the two posts that were created. One the Viceroy, another Secretary of State. Secretary of State used to assist the Viceroy in the matter of administration. ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಆಗಲೇ ಕಲಿತ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಇಲ್ಲೇನಾಯ್ತು, ಯಾತಕ್ಕೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ 1909 ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಕೇಮ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಮಿಂಟೋ ಮೋರ್ಲೆ ರಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಲಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಿಂಟೋ ವಾಸ್ ದ ವೈಸ್ರಾಯ್ and Lord Morley was the Secretary of State. Two important, very, very important posts to handle the Indian administration. This act was used to divide and rule India. Now, what the British now are thinking, they began to divide and rule the India. Now, let us learn what they will do, what policies were adopted to divide the Indian regions and rule. See, John Morley, Viceroy Lord Minto. See, look at the persons, can have a glance. The following are the important features of this act. The total number of central legislature members was increased to 60 from 16. So, central legislature, central administrative body, there were only 16. Now 60 members. It was increased from 16 to 60. The number of regional council members was also increased. That means both at the central and the regional level, council members were added. More and more members were taken into the legislative council. Third point is, representation of the regional council was allowed through the election for the first time. So far there was no system of election. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವೋಟ್ ಹಾಕಿ ಮೆಜಾರಿಟಿ ಯಾರು ಬರ್ತಾರೋ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಪವರ್ ಕೊಡೋದು ಅದಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. But in this act, representation of the regional council, that means whoever comes and becomes the member of the regional council, they were elected through the election. The concept of election was introduced for the representation of the regional council for the first time. ಇಷ್ಟಾಬಂದವರನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಬಟ್ ಈಗ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ democratic, they are adopting democratic view. In order to provide separate representation for Muslim, separate electorate college was created. This is a very important point to be noted. Britain never wanted Muslim and Hindus to unite ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತಿತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ the Britain could not rule such a vast country. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ನಾರ್ತ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮಾರು ಮೊಘಲ್ ಎಂಪೈರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೋ ಮೆನಿ ಮುಸ್ಲಿಂ ರೂಲರ್ಸ್ ವರ್ ದೇರ್. ನಾವು ಅವರು ಯುನೈಟ್ ಆಗಕ್ ಬಿಡ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಟು ಡಿವೈಡೆಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರೂಲ್, ಯುನೈಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ತೊಂದರೆ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮುಸ್ಲಿಮ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟೋರೇಟ್ ಕಾಲೇಜ್, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮುಸ್ಲಿಂ ಯಾರು ಕಂಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಮುಸ್ಲಿಂ ಮಾತ್ರ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಹಿಂದೂಸ್ ನಿಂತ್ರೆ ಹಿಂದೂಸ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಈ ತರ ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟೋರೇಟ್ ಕಾಲೇಜ್. ಇದರಲ್ಲೂ ಸೆಲ್ಫಿಶ್ ಮೋಟಿವ್ ಇನ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಟು ಡಿವೈಡ್ ದ ಹಿಂದೂಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದ ಮುಸ್ಲಿಂ. Now let us learn about the Government of India Act of 1990. Since Indians took active part in the First World War, we have already learned in our previous lesson that so many Indians were serving, many sepoys were serving in the Britain army to help the Britain. Lord Montego, so First World War 1914 to 18, let us not discuss in detail. Almost all, majority of the countries were involved. Britain was also involved. During that period, Indians actively participated and helped the Britain. Lord Montego, he was the Secretary of State during the Act of 1919. He argued in favor of providing more representations to Indians in the matter of administration. Why he argued? He saw Indians actively taking part in the First World War, helping the Britain government. ಅವನಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ ಕಾರ್ನರ್ ಬಂತು, Indians have helped us ಅಂತು. So he recommended for the more representations. He said that more and more Indians should be included in the legislature. He was in favor of allowing people's participation in the formation of government gradually. He was the person who, Lord Montego, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ Montego Chelmsford Act ಅಂತಾನೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಇದನ್ನ. Montego ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾರೆ, he argued strongly that more and more participation of the people should be there, and in the formation of the government they should be taken. So gradually the representation of the Indians began to increase. Lord Chelmsford, he was the viceroy, then declared various reformative measures, changed measures or reformations, ಸುಧಾರಣೆಗಳು ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, changes or measures to the British Parliament on 28 1917, that is date. So Lord Chelmsford ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ದ, ಈ British Parliament ನಲ್ಲಿ he gave so many suggestions to the Britain government in the British Parliament directly. He gave many reformative measures. ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಅಡಾಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ. So the Indian Council Act of 1990 was formulated by accepting this report. That means Chelmsford gave a report. ಇದನ್ನ Chelmsford reform ಅಂತಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. He gave a report, written report ಒಂದು ಬರ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾನೆ. He gave some suggestions for the British Parliament. This act is also called as Montego-Chelmsford Reforms Act. ಅವಾಗ ವೈಸ್ರಾಯ್ ಜನರಲ್ ಯಾರಾಗಿದ್ರು ಅವರ ಹೆಸರಿಂದ ಆ ಪಾಲಿಸಿನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. So 28 1917, you can underline this because he declared various measures. He declared ಅಂದ್ರೆ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆದು ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಪಾರ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾನೆ. He gave some suggestions, ಹೀಗೆ ಮಾಡಿ, otherwise we lose your hold on the Indian soil ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. That's why his policy was adopted by the Britain government in India. The following are the important features of this Act 1990. Act formulated bicameral legislative body. Bicameral means two bodies. Lower house and upper house were formed. ಈಗ ರಾಜ್ಯಸಭಾ ಲೋಕಸಭಾ ಅಂತ ನಾವೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, I told you we have adopted so many good things at the progressive changes we have adopted progressive measures by the government. ಎಷ್ಟೋ ನಾವು ಜುಡಿಷಿಯರಿ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಇದರಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟಿವ್, ಜುಡಿಷಿಯರಿ, ಲೆಜಿಸ್ಲೇಚರ್ Ella upper house, lower house, whatever we are following today in the politics of India, we have adopted from the Britain government. The act formulated bicameral legislative body. Two legislative bodies of the bicameral. Bi means two. Lower house and upper house were formed. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಲೋಯರ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ನು ನಾವು ಸೆಂಟ್ರಿಂದ ವಿ cannot expect the center to solve all our problems. So there should be lower house and upper house. Diarchy was followed at regional governments. Dual government diarchy. A high commissioner was appointed for India again to look into the administration. A high commissioner, a good post was appointed to deal with the political affairs in India. The fourth point is promise to improve local self-government. Local self-government is very important. Grassroots level anta ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು, lower level ಅಲ್ಲಿ village panchayat, taluks anta ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, they are called as local self-government. Because from the ancient time or the past time, the villages were looking after their administration by themselves, taluks, villages and all. So even during the king's period also or emperor's period also, local self-government were considered as very important because a king or a ruler cannot go to all the places. So some power should be given to the local self-government. Provincial budget was separated from central budget. That means provinces alle bere budget, central budget both were now ella onde ittu ಮೊದಲು. ಈಗ ನಾವು at the ನಾವು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಬಡ್ಜೆಟ್ ಬೇರೆ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಬಡ್ಜೆಟ್ ಬೇರೆ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಇವಾಗ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, that was introduced during that period. Separate electoral college was extended for Muslims, Sikhs, Anglo-Indian and Europeans. To get their idea, electoral college ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಮುಸ್ಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ, so Muslim representation was there, only Muslims were to vote. Sikh leader was to be nominated means Sikhs were voting, Anglo-Indians were there, Europeans were there. Separate caste ಗೆ, separate religion ಗೆ separate electoral college ನ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರು. ಸೊ one representation, one system of vote ಅಂತ ಇವಾಗ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅವರು. They introduced separate electoral college. I think you have very well understood about the how local self-government was given important. Budgets was separated as a central budget and the provincial budget. Electoral college was based on the religions, Muslims, Sikh, Anglo-Indians and Europe. Now let us learn about the Government of India Act of 1935. This act acted as the base for the formation of Indian Constitution, foundation, a key act anta ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, very important act. So Indian Constitution na we have taken so many provisions from the Act of 1935 to form our Constitution in the year 1950. The report submitted in 1928 under the leadership of Motilal Nehru was instrumental in the formation of the act. Instrumental means it was responsible anta, means for some end anta ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ instrumental. So for example, Modi is instrumental in bringing about so many changes in India. Instrumental and is ಅವನು ಕಾರಣಕರ್ತರು ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. So Motilal Nehru, father of Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, he submitted a report in the year 1928. So this became the foundation for the formation of the Act of 1935. Most of the provisions in the Indian constitutions are based on this act. I have already told you children, we have taken so many provisions. We have adopted almost all the provisions of the Act of 1930. This act allowed the formation of fully responsible government by the Indians. Now, why it is called like this means more and more persons were made responsible for the governance of India. So, more and more representation was there by the Indians. More and more Indians were joined in the legislature and judiciary, executive. So, fully responsible government by the Indians was possible by this act. This act was applicable both to the Indian municipalities and also to the British India region. This act was applicable ಯಾರಿಗೆ both to the Indian principalities, that means princely states, local rulers, kings who were all ruling, and also to the British India region. So in spite of British taking over the administration, some of the regions were under the princes. ಅದನ್ನ principalities ಅಂತಾರೆ. The regions ruled by the princes or the kings. There were some kings who were ruling for the namesake, but they were listening to the orders of the British government, no doubt. But there were some princely states, and this act was applicable both to the princely states and to the British India regions. Some of the regions which were directly under the Britishers. The following are the important features of this act. A federal system of Indian principalities, British governed regions and dominion states were formed. So when the federal system was introduced, Indian principalities, but Indian states are the states of the kings, British governed regions and dominion states were formed. See what happened, some of the states were under the British rule, some were princely states were there, some were ruling according to the will and wishes. India was divided into so many regions, you know. The federal system was introduced by this act. Reserve Bank of India was established. So Reserve Bank of India, RBI today is also it is working. In civics, we will learn in detail about the Reserve Bank of India. But according to this act, a central bank, there should be one central bank to give guidance or guidelines to all the banks. So Reserve Bank of India was established according to this. Diarchy was established at the center. Dual rule was established at the center. Diarchy was cancelled at the regional level and autonomy was granted. Diarchy na regional level alli cancel ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ. Autonomy means the power to rule according to their will and ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ power na local level alli, regional level alli ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ರೀಜನ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದ್ರು, ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದ್ರು, ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಡೊಮಿನಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಏನಿತ್ತು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಡಯಾರ್ಕಿನ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರು. ದ ಫೆಡರಲ್ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಎಸ್ಟಾಬ್ಲಿಷ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ದ ಫೆಡರಲ್ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಎಸ್ಟಾಬ್ಲಿಷ್ಡ್ ಟು ಗೈಡ್ ದ both the states and the British dominions and all, to give them the suggestions in the legal points. Federal court was established. One should understand the various political developments that resulted in the formation of various acts. Why these acts were passed? We have to understand the point that political developments are the changes were the direct results of the formation of the acts of the country. And moreover, these acts helped the formation of Indian Constitution. Because of the political developments, acts were passed. Because acts were passed, we could take good points from them. Some of the provisions are adopted to form the Indian Constitution. Though these acts serve the purpose of British interest, they also include the aspirations of Indians for self-governance. No doubt, whatever laws and rules and acts they passed, they were in favor of them only, British interest only. ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡಿದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲಸನ ಅವ್ರಿಗೋಸ್ಕರನೇ, ಸೆಲ್ಫಿಶ್ನೆಸ್ ಇಂದ. ಆದರೂ ಸಹ ಆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಡಿಸೈರ್ಸ್, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಡಿಸೈರ್ಸ್ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿತ್ತು. ಮೋರ್ ಓವರ್ ವಿ ಲರ್ನ್ ದ ಲೆಸನ್ ಹೌ ಟು ಗವರ್ನ್ ಅವರ್ ರೂಲ್ ಬೈ ಮೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಸಮ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್. ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಗವರ್ನೆನ್ಸ್ ಹೆಂಗ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯ ನಾವು ಆಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಹೇಗೆ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರೆ ವಿ ಲರ್ನ್ ಎ ಲೆಸನ್. ದಿಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟುಡ್ as a result of struggle led by Indians for self-rule. ನಾವೇ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ರೂಲ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಬಹಳ ವರ್ಷದ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಂತು. ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಎ ಸೆಂಚುರಿ 1857 ರಿವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಆಗೋ ತನಕನೂ ಸಿ ದಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್. ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಯ್ತು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಬಿಗ್ಯಾನ್ ಟು ರಿವೋಲ್ಟ್. ಕೊಡದಿದ್ರೆ ಬಿಡೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರು. ವಿ ಗಾಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಇಯರ್ 1947. ದಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಬಿಗ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ. ಬಟ್ ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಗಲ್ಡ್. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಗಲ್ಡ್, ದೀಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ವರ್ ಪಾಸ್ಡ್. More and more Indian representations were there and Indians aspired for the self-rule. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಅವ್ರ ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಬಂದೇ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಪಾಲಿಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೋರಾಡಿ ನಮ್ಮ ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅವರ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ, ವಿ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಗವರ್ನ್ ಅವರ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ರೀಜಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಬಂದಮೇಲೆ ಸೊ ದ ಮೆನಿ ಆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ವರ್ ಪಾಸ್. ಸೊ ಆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ political ground as well as the legal ground and as well as the constitutional development also, because we have adopted all the good points from the Britain Constitution and the acts made by the Britain government. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you understood the lesson. Ellargu artha agide ankothini. Soon I will be back with the fourth part of this lesson, where I will give you solution to the textbook exercise. So in the next class, let us discuss about the answers. We have started a new batches of online tuition for all subjects of all classes. You can contact the number 99723 99337 for any of the details. Please watch, like, share and comment. Subscribe to our channel for more videos. Thank you.